Am I
You are,
unmuted?
you are.
Okay. To those of us who have volunteered at Medicist or at Second Harvest, or perhaps climbing Mount Kilimanjaro to raise money for End Polio Now, Jerry Coughter needs no introduction. But maybe we don't know who Jerry is when he's not wearing one of his many volunteering hats. Jerry is the executive director of the Du Bois Center at the UNCC Center City. A microbiologist by training, Jerry's current area of interest is how cities use technology assets to grow their economies. Also, he currently is president of the Charlotte Rotary Club. Please welcome Jerry Coughter.
Thank you, Kate, and congratulations
Thank
to you for that great honor. And I just have to say thank you to Kevin for saying nice things about me as well. But all I do is show up. Kevin does all the hard part of organizing, and you guys know that. I actually made that point in my got to make remarks, when I became the president. And that was kind of the take-home message of, none of us have any superpowers. I certainly don't. It's showing up and doing the work, and I think that's how it all ties together. It's not about, the big things are great. Climbing Kilimanjaro, ending polio, those are great. But the little things we do day to day are in my mind, that's what makes Rotary special. So thank you all. Thank you all for having me. It's still, I don't understand why you're having me, but I'm happy to be here. Almost a year in, I'm still learning to do Zoom, so I'm going to try to do screen share. Jenny, I might need your help. I don't know. Yeah, here we go. Want that one?
Let's see.
And I want to do that.
I can get the iPad going.
Here we go. Is that good?
Good.
Yes, it is.
Thanks. So here's just a picture to get us started. We only became the Du Bois Center last year, really just actually it was after the pandemic started that we officially changed the name to honor Phil Du Bois and his retirement. This picture is from the day the light rail opened from the university, well, from Center City out to the university. People out there think of it as the other way. So the university connecting to Uptown. And you can see one of the trains in the background of that picture. We had hundreds and hundreds of students rode in from University City. And the weather was perfect. And it was just a fabulous day of, we had a barbecue, we had hot dogs and hamburgers and stuff. And it was great. And it's an example of the sort of thing that we're trying to do with, I'm going to continue to refer to it as the Center City building, and you'll see that in the slides, but we're officially the Du Bois Center now. So here's our mission statement. And I know there's a lot of text there, but this predates my arriving at the university by several years. This is when the idea of building a building in Center City was still being considered, and the question was, well, what would the university do if we had a building there? What would be the point of it? And this is what they came up with, and it's still our mission statement today, and it's the mission that my team and I try to work to every day. The first thing is to be a gateway to the university for people in the community, the city, the region, to come to the university maybe for the first time or to learn something new about the university. But very importantly, to be a gateway that goes in both directions. It's to get people from the campus to come into Uptown, to come into the community, to be involved in Rotary, in chamber activities, in working with the homeless, in all the things that we can do if we get out of the ivory tower. Not that UNC Charlotte has any ivory towers out in University City, but you know what I mean. To be active, to be a part of the community, to be engaged. Engaged is the word we use a lot now in academics, the engaged scholarship. And I think you'll see even more of that from the university going forward. So be a gateway. I'll jump down to the second one. The third one is really to offer programming that's appropriate for the urban situation, the urban environment that we're in. So, so we do a lot of business classes because it makes sense to teach those for the people who work at the banks in Uptown and all that. But beyond that, other things that have an urban awareness. Again, to be engaged, to get folks participating in their community, and then to do those things in a sustainable manner. We were the first LEED Gold certified building at UNC Charlotte, and only the second one in the entire UNC system. And that just, that means things like we collect rainwater on the roof and we use it to water the gardens. We capture the condensate from the air conditioning system and use that to flush the toilets. The lights go off if you don't wave your arms occasionally, that sort of thing. So but more than that, we try to, so there's that built-in component of sustainability, but we also try to live it. We've moved really, really close to being landfill zero. That's our goal, to send nothing to the landfill. We compost our kitchen waste. We recycle everything we can. There's a few little things that keep us from claiming that we're really there. We do a lot of events that we serve coffee at, and people always get those little creamer container things that you dump in your coffee. Instead of having a gallon of milk there, you have the little creamer thing. Well, those things aren't recyclable. And there's a few things like that make it hard, but by and large, day in, day out, we try to be as sustainable as we can. So it's this three-pronged mission of to be a gateway, do things that are appropriate for Center City, and to do those things in a sustainable manner. I'll touch a bit. I don't know how many of you have actually been to the building, or maybe you've been to events. We do a lot of things open to the community. Excuse me. So I want to real quickly, I'll run through. I have a bunch, I'm academics. So I have a bunch of slides with numbers and stuff, but here's just the sort of things we have in the building. It's mostly classrooms. People always wonder about that. What's in there? So it's mostly classrooms. Some are flat, some are tiered. We have architecture studios. People are always surprised to hear that we have architecture studios. A couple of dedicated computer classrooms. A new one we did last year is called an active learning classroom, which is, again, a sort of buzzword used in academics now, but basically it's a classroom that's fully wired and connected both to the internet and through the internet to similar classrooms on campus. So a faculty member can be teaching out in University City, but have the class be at the Center City building, or vice versa. And it's great for collaboration. There's screens everywhere, so they can break up into groups. And it's a modern way of doing it. And of course, we've all learned so much more about doing education over the internet in the last year, doing education and everything else in our lives, right, over Zoom. Plus, we have a gallery and a coffee shop. There's reasons to come to the building, even if you're not there for an event, for a talk or a class. We have a terrific art collection as well. I'll touch on a little bit. Big auditorium and a small auditorium, and they both get used an awful lot. I'll show you some numbers real fast on that. As part of the gateway function, we have 3 or 4 big events a year that we bring in big name speakers from around the country. This was the last one that we had. I'm pretty sure it was the last one before the pandemic. Henry Louis Gates, who of course, in the second or third act of his life is now famous on TV for doing a genealogy show. Finding Your Roots. The name has changed over time, but it's basically Finding Your Roots, where he surprises people with stories of their ancestors. He's also famous just as an academic. Well before he was famous on TV. And just as a little anecdote, he's the guy that was involved in the crazy thing where the police tried to stop him from going into his own house, and it led to him and the police officer having a beer with Barack Obama in the Rose Garden. Really strange sort of moment that unfortunately I think will all, when Dr. Gates eventually passes away, that's going to be at the start of his obituary, that he's that guy, which is just a shame because he's famous for so many other things. And anyway, he was our last big, and he was a wonderful speaker. Had the whole auditorium just enwrapped. So what do we do at the building just on a day-to-day basis? Well, here are the programs that are there. 95% of what we do is graduate programs in the College of Business. Most of that is people getting their MBA. But the College of Business, the Belk College of Business, has a variety of other graduate programs, including a PhD, but an MS in real estate, economics, math, finance. We're home to continuing education, which brings an enormous number of people into the building coming for certificate programs. Some of it's professional licensure and might be engineers, it might be firemen, it's real estate professionals. People come for all sorts of certificate programs, an incredibly eclectic mix of things, which is both mostly, it just fits in our mission really well because it brings people to the university for the first time often and exposes them to the university. And by and large, it's things that are appropriate for the center city environment as well. Urban education is based there, which makes a lot of sense being in the urban environment, as well as the urban design, which is part of the School of Architecture. So it's a master's program in the School of Architecture that actually has design studios and what they call the City Building Lab, where they work on just what it sounds like, thinking about problems in design and what's the right way to grow the community in a confined space. The only unit that we have in the building, entity in the building that's not part of the university is the North Carolina Humanities Council. Is actually a tenant. They have basically have office space, and it fits our mission, of course. And our College of Liberal Arts and Sciences is intimately involved with them. But it's a private nonprofit, gets a lot of money from the feds as well. But and so we do things with them that are appropriate for us. Sorry, very academic looking slide, but just to show you the numbers of students that we have every semester. And really all this shows is that it pretty much grows every semester. The fall is always bigger than the spring. I have the numbers for fall 2019, and they're similar to these. Of course, the spring numbers for 2020, we know what it started like, but how it ended, was at 0. And just to give you, again, just a different way to look at those numbers, how many people are coming to the building for classes and stuff. And it's not a huge number by some standards, but you can see overall it's grown over the 10 years that we've been in the building and continues to grow. Little difference in these two slides. This one is the term we use. This is head count, and this is seat count. The thing there is that our average student comes 2 nights a week, takes 2 classes. So you just count the students who come to the building, it's about half of the number of people that we have enrolled because people are enrolled in more than 1 class. But it's, again, a growing number all the time until the last year. Just a way to represent how many classes we have at night versus daytime. We have, since the beginning, we've been primarily a nighttime facility for classes. We do a lot of things in the daytime, but academic classes have traditionally been at night. Though you can see that the daytime use has been creeping up. And actually in the spring, the spring of 2019, we had more daytime classes than we had nighttime. But of course, the thing there is that in the daytime, you have 4 or 5 opportunities to use every classroom. And at night, you basically only have 1 opportunity to use each room. We're talking about the gateway function. That's bringing people into the building for events is the big thing. So they come for all sorts of different reasons. And here's just a depiction of how the number of events we've had in the building goes up all the time. And these, I'll talk a little more detail about it, but these are all sorts of things. It's events in the auditorium, but it's also community groups that use classrooms for meetings and all sorts of things in between. We have film series, speakers on everything. There's an enormous amount of activity in the building that doesn't show up when you just look at the academic uses. And that's really the only point I'm trying to make here. And that top line number there, you see that's over 1,800 events in that August 17 to July 18. That's a lot of stuff going on in the building. That's multiple events every day, 7 days a week. And we do that with a staff of 5 people. Here's a quick breakdown again. I don't expect you to look too closely at this, but I mentioned that we have a 300-seat auditorium. In the year represented here, we had 283 events in the auditorium. I understand that that's essentially an event every day because we don't we don't work over the Christmas holidays, and there's spring break, and actually the building is full during spring break, and it's full during the summertime. But we don't work 365 days a year. So 283 events means that we use the auditorium every day, and actually many days more than once a day. The other thing this slide shows over on the right-hand side, the outside rentals, that's just to show you that of the 1,800 some odd events that we had, only about 300 of them were ones to fully outside groups where people, it's a law firm, they come and they rent the auditorium or they rent the event space. Almost everything we do is events for university organizations, just internal, and then university events that are open to the public. And sponsored events where it's a university group working with some nonprofit to host an event. So almost everything we do is targeted like that, to be welcoming to folks in the city, in the region, to come to the building and experience some part of the university that they maybe haven't seen before. And all of that is funded by about 20% of the total events that we do that we actually make money on. Last year, we were able to install some technology that this is a footfall count. It tells us how many people are coming in the front door. Now it's not a scientific measure because I go in and out the front door multiple times a day, and I'm getting counted multiple times. But over the course of time, you get a feel for how much activity there is in the building. And I really just put this in so you could see that the one all the way over on the right is March of 2020, where halfway through the month, everything stopped. And basically has remained that way right through today. I mentioned continuing ed brings a lot of folks to the building, and it's an incredibly eclectic mix. And if there's something you're interested in learning more about, they probably have a program in it. The big thing they do right now, actually for the last couple of years, is coding classes, where folks with different backgrounds, people who are in fields that, when they were coming up, never expected to need to know how to write a program for their computer. Now they want to know how to do it. There's a huge demand for people that whatever your specialty is, plus the ability to code. And so those classes are unbelievably popular and always full. It's incredible that they could almost, well, they make so much money on it, they could stop doing all the other things that they do. But that's obviously against the what we're trying to do. I wanted to show, even in the midst of the pandemic, these continuing ed classes have continued. And here's an example of how they've done them in a socially distant manner, doing it as safely as they possibly can. This is something that in the regular time would have been in a classroom around one table, and instead here they're spread out. And we've made all the arrangements to have in-person classes in a socially distanced way. But every time we've gotten close to reopening, the university has decided to delay it a little more. So for example, right now we are, in theory, the university is having in-person classes, but the vast majority of classes are actually happening online or in some sort of hybrid format, just for everybody's safety. Obviously, there are certain things that have to happen in person. A lot of things in the arts, for example, they have, dance classes, you have to be there in person, that sort of thing. But and what we've focused on at the university level for in-person classes is freshmen and transfer students, people who are coming to the university for the first time, so that their initial experience at the university is in person. We don't want somebody for their first year, or maybe first 2 years of school, to just be online, right? So that's been a big focus, and trying to do that as safely as possible. Real quickly, a little bit about what were the future plans, things that we hope to do over the next couple of years. And I like this, the partway home is the terminology that we use at UNC Charlotte. The state system has a different name, but it implies the same thing. It's really about the fact that there are thousands, it's probably hundreds of thousands of people in North Carolina who are partway through college, but they dropped out mostly for financial reasons, typically over a very small amount of financial reasons. it's $500, it's $1,000. You know, they lost their job, or a family member lost their job, or they had an injury and they couldn't afford to do both, or, you know, they had a child care issue. And there's thousands and thousands of folks out there who could be lifted out of whatever their current economic situation is if they finish their college degree. And so the university and the university system broadly is putting a big emphasis on how do we reach those folks, how do we get them back in the fold, and how do we help them finish? And that's all that this is about. Sometimes it'll mean that maybe they finish with a degree other than the one they started out trying to get, but they'll get that college degree and they'll be able to leverage that. And here are just some examples of the sorts of things that are easier to do that in. These general education or liberal studies, things that are easier to adapt so that folks from all these different academic backgrounds can finish their degrees. It's a really important thing that the university is trying to do. And Center City is planned to be a host for that activity, because most of these folks are adult learners. You know, they're not people who just came straight out of high school. They're adult learners who are coming back, and we can create the right environment for them. I wanted to touch very briefly. David said he was walking on 8th Street earlier today. So you saw that view that I had, see my background, that's the fountain looking back at our building. Well, between the fountain and the building is this sculpture, which is Ainsa 3 by Jaume Clenza, who's a Spanish sculptor from Barcelona. And this was a gift from Queen's Table, which is a wonderful group that funds public arts in the city. Mostly anonymous. There's 1,000 families that give $1,000 a year. I'm sorry, it's 100 families give $1,000 a year, and every 5 or 6 years they endow a new piece of artwork around the city. And you've seen these all around the city. You just didn't know probably that they were done by Queen's Table. But this is one that we have on our plaza and gets a lot of attention. It's lit up at night, and lots of people are out there every day getting their pictures taken with it. It's a fun thing. We have 2 major art collections in the building. One of them is donated or loaned, it's a combination, by Moses Lesky and also his parents, well, his dad and his late mother. We have a lot of glass artwork. This is one from Rick Beck, but we have big pieces, small pieces. And we also have, so Moses' collection is very contemporary. And we have another collection called the Lona Fry collection. That's a lot of lithographs, famous lithographs. And we try to, with the artists spread out all over the building so that when you walk from one classroom to another, you'll get exposed to art. And we do have a surprising number of tour groups, that's maybe overstating it, school groups that come in and tour and look at the art and get lectures. We have a gallery in the building that hosts art displays all the time. Not so much this year, but excuse me, but and that's sometimes that artwork is by faculty and students, but mostly it's famous artists from around the world who are brought in to do displays, and sometimes focused on, like when the conventions have been here, we've had displays that were political related and that sort of thing. Another sculpture that we have is, yeah, I couldn't resist. This is a Bonnie Cone. It's the Bonnie Cone bench. When the Rotary Club of Charlotte celebrated their 100th anniversary now, 5 years ago, we commissioned, one of the things we did was commission these benches, these sculptures. There's one at the ballpark with a baseball player, it's right outside the main gate to the ballpark. But ball player with a bench. And so the club actually came to me and said, you know, they were having trouble finding places to put the benches, believe it or not, because you think of a bench being on a sidewalk. Well, you know, the person in the building doesn't own the sidewalk, the city owns the sidewalk, and you know, there were all sorts of issues. So they needed to find private property that could host a public display sort of thing. So we were a likely candidate. And so you can see it's Miss Bonnie and Senator Bernie. And to his left there on the right-hand side, you can see the Rotary logo. I use this one obviously for fun, but it's funny. This is a lot of people go out there and sit and get their picture taken with Miss Bonnie. Particularly graduates of the university who have come back, and they're just walking around Center City and they see this, and it's a it's not like the Firebird exactly in Uptown, but it's pretty close to that. People getting their pictures taken. So I mentioned we did our official name for the building was changed last year in May upon the retirement of Phil Dubois. So we're now the Dubois Center, and that's really wanted to make that point. And I don't want anybody to be confused to think that there's another place. It's not really a name change because we didn't have a name before. We were just a Center City building, and now we have a name. I wanted to touch just really briefly on some Rotary activities. Am I doing okay on time? Not too bad. Here's a shot of us from, this is back in 2013. We were the second group from the district to climb Kilimanjaro. The year before they had over 20 people, I think. But to my right on the left-hand side there, Wei Soon Lee, who's in the South Mech Club, I think, or it could be Ballantyne. Paul Weish from our club. Wesley Horn was from the Wadesboro Club. Some of you might know Marty White. He's a fairly prominent attorney in town. He's with Charlotte West. And Greg White there is formerly in our club. So there were 6 of us, and we raised together a little over $30,000. And of course, all those dollars are matched 2 for 1 by the Gates Foundation. So it was $100,000 from 6 of us. And so we're very proud of that. But as I mentioned, it's, so much of it is the little things you do. And so when we were there, we visited a Rotary club, a small Rotary club in the town of Moshi in Tanzania. And they were so excited to have Americans there to tell us all about the work that they do. And that sort of interaction, we made a donation to their club, and those kind of interactions continue. It's one of the great things, I think, of Rotary, getting to be involved with clubs around the world. Mostly you don't get to meet those people, but it's especially fun when you do. And then I wanted to throw this one in just because this is a more recent one. This is from the summer of 2018. You'll recognize the guy on the right, maybe with the hat and the sunglasses. He's, Tim somebody, he's on the call. So good to see you again, Tim. Again, Paul Weish was from our club. So Paul and I did both Kili and the Inca Trail together. Jim Hintz, of course, is on the call in the middle there. And I'm drawing a blank. Warren Keene is from our club. There were, I want to say, Jim could correct me, there were 18 or 19 people in our group. So there were 5 Rotarians, and everybody else was a relative of Jim. But we didn't actually go to Peru to hike the Inca Trail. Well, maybe we did. Jim used it as a way to get us to come to Peru. To learn about all the great work that he's doing down there. I know many of you have been intimately involved in the work that Jim does in Atacama. And if you haven't been, I encourage you to go. It's a life-changing thing. It really is. And it's another example of we do a big thing like hike the Inca Trail, but the little things, the interacting with the folks in Atacama, and then the ongoing connection that all of us have after that. It's just a great thing about Rotary. Oh yeah, and so that's the end. That's the payoff for doing the 4-day hike. You get this, and in a rare example, I was clever enough to keep a clean shirt because after 4 days on the Inca Trail, everything you own is dirty and smelly, and even if you haven't worn it. But I kept a clean Rotary shirt so I could have this picture. Again, Rotary to me, has opened up. It's cliche now, but Rotary opens opportunities, right? It's the saying. It really does. It's opened up all sorts of opportunities for me, completely unexpectedly. I got involved in Rotary when I moved to Charlotte. When one of the first meetings I had at the university. Ron Kimball and Natalie English invited me out for coffee, and we're talking about, what the university could do with the city and at that point the chamber. And in the midst of that conversation, they just said, "Well, and of course you're going to join Rotary." There wasn't like a question. I wasn't invited. It was just, "You're going to join Rotary." So I did, and I never looked back. It's one of I'm eternally grateful to them and to all the folks that have made this the last 10 years so rewarding for me. People like Kevin and David and Tim and Jim and all of you. It's just been great. I hope this has been useful. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to try to answer them.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Jerry. This has been really, really interesting. We've really enjoyed it. It really is fascinating. It's a gem that's, right there in downtown. And I guess we just haven't, a lot of us haven't had the opportunity to really appreciate the full scope of what's happening in your facility. And thank you also for all your work with Rotary. It's a great story. If anyone has any questions, let's go ahead and go ahead, Kevin.
Hey, Jerry, first of all, I just can't say enough how grateful I am to know you and to call you a friend. I wanted to, I have a question in chat, but that's really not my main reason for wanting to talk to you. You said something about your current passion of technology and urban environments. And if this isn't the appropriate time to do this, I completely understand, but I do want to talk to you about any information you might have about communities that do technology for impoverished citizens or citizens who are have been systemically affected by disparate treatment, what they do in reference to providing Wi-Fi for all of the people within a particular community. So again, you don't have to answer that now, but if that's something that you have some information on, I'd love to talk to you about it.
Yeah, let's do that offline. It's a huge problem, as you know.
Awesome.
People have taken lots of different approaches, and by and large, I think the thing that works in a lot of is, in general, people think of if we grow the economy, that'll be good for everybody, and sometimes we end up not being as targeted with investments as we might be. But there are lots of folks at the university way more knowledgeable than me in this engaged scholarship area. What are the things that we can do to help? And there are lots of examples. I know you're aware of some of them, and things going on in the University City area and Hidden Valley and trying to help those folks that some of it's not a whole lot more complicated than some of the traditional activities of showing up to tutor and to read, and it requires a little more thoughtfulness, I think, for some of it. That it's very often, one of the terms is that last mile or the last 100 yards or all right, so we provided Wi-Fi to the community, but not everybody has a laptop, or they have a laptop but they don't have internet connection, or so yeah, it's not my area of expertise, but I do love to talk about it.
Cool. Thank you.
Excellent. Any other questions? Go ahead, Jenny.
Jerry, I was just curious, you were talking about the back home program. I got an associate's degree like 20 years ago. Would that program apply to me if I wanted to go back and get a bachelor's degree or anything?
Well, that's not
more
specific. Yeah, that's not specifically part of the Partway Home program, but we do have the university. Well, the university system, of course, has an articulation agreement with the community college system for people to graduate, and people to get their AA to be able to come straight to the university and not have to retake things that they took at the community college level. And we have a even more specific articulation agreement with CPCC on that. But it's exactly the sort of thing, Jenny, that we're trying to do. Absolutely.
So even after 20 years?
Well, I think, and that's why, it might not be exactly in the field that your AA was in, but the university wants to help folks finish their 4-year degrees if that's what they want to do. And there are, and not to speak out of turn, but there are institutional impediments to some of that. Things like, oh, it's been 20 years, so it doesn't count. Well, why? Or, she needs to take the SAT again. why? And some of it's just because that's how we've always done it.
Got it.
All too often, that's the way. Or, well, the system says that we have to do it that way. And what's changed in the last year or two, I think, is that the system and the university are being much more thoughtful and deliberate about how we take those impediments out of the way, so that folks can finish. And that's, for an institution like UNC Charlotte, we're not the flagship, we're not the land grant. We are the place that provides access. And so providing access is really important. We can't just talk about it, we have to do it. And there's a big effort now at the university to provide that, to enhance the sort of access that we have. And one of the issues is that much of it has to be addressed at the individual level. Every single student has their own kind of thing that was the problem, or their situation is just a little different. But some of it can be addressed more broadly. The times that classes are offered, for example. If you know that a significant percentage of the people who are partway through college are working adults, well, then the classes they need have to be offered at a time that they're not working, right? It's that sort of thing that can be addressed institutionally, as well as then working with the individuals. And so there's a big effort to do that.
Thank you.
Excellent. Any other questions? All right. Really fast. Go ahead, Kate. Unmute yourself.
I have to say that I was so shocked and then so flummoxed by my technological issues that I just want to thank you all so very much. It's looking at this plaque and all the other wonderful Rotarians who are on there. I am thrilled and honored, and thank you very much.
No, absolutely. Well, thank you, Jerry. You wondered why you were here, but you've given us a really fascinating talk and inspired us both in your leadership in Rotary and your participation in our projects and other projects where you are emblematic of what makes a great Rotarian. And thank you again, Kate. Congratulations. Excited to see all your happy faces here. I did have one question, Jerry. How are you all, just logistically, are you all meeting in person? Are you, for your Rotary Club, are you having socials? What are you doing to keep people connected?
So we're not meeting in person. We haven't, in December or November, December, we talked about, we wanted to have what we were going to call four-way lunches, just to get 4 members to meet in person and eat. And then, then we had the spike in cases. And so we backed off doing that. Interesting that you asked that now, because we are targeting, we're going to have an in-person meeting, a hybrid meeting on March 9th. So not our next meeting, but the one after that. And we're going to do that at SMS Catering. So it's a big space that is practically outdoors, and so assuming the weather's nice, we'll be able to open the doors. Don't have any idea how many people will get there. Unfortunately, our membership is down now to about 225. We've lost a lot of members during this year. We've lost about the same number of members that we lose every year. We just haven't replaced them at the rate that we have in the past. So we're going to do that meeting in person in a hybrid format. Our speaker that day is going to be Gibby Harris, the Mecklenburg County Health Director. So we think that might drive some attendance and certainly get us some attention in the media, perhaps. But and we'll see how that goes. We probably won't have the very next meeting in a hybrid format, but that's our hope, is that we can now move to hybrid. And I expect, and you guys probably see the same thing, I think hybrid is going to be the norm. Over time, I'm sure in-person attendance, or in real life, as the kids say, that'll come way back. But I think we're always going to have this option now for people to Zoom in. And so that's one of the things we've been struggling with, is to make the experience as close as possible the same for the people who are there in person and the people that are Zooming. We don't want the people on Zoom to feel second class at all. So.
Absolutely. No, thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, sure.
Excellent. Thank you for being here. And
thank you guys.
we're going to be making a donation in your name to Medicist and Second Harvest, because they obviously causes that are important to you.
Thank you. I'm humbled by that.
Absolutely. And with that, if we could do the four-way test of the things we think, say, or do. First, is it the truth? Second, is
Is it fair to all concerned?
Third,
Will it build goodwill and
Goodwill and better
friendships?
friendships.
fourth,
Will it be
Will it be
beneficial?
beneficial to all concerned?
And fifth,
Will it be fun?
absolutely. Thank you all for being here. Have a great weekend, and we look forward to seeing you again next week. Remember, Harding Shin, 100 years old and 72 years as a Rotarian. Most of that with perfect attendance, so please be there for that.
Right.
And with that, we will go ahead and adjourn. And I'm sure Jerry will stay on for a few more minutes to answer any additional questions. But with that, the meeting is adjourned. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jerry. Great program, sir. Thank you very much.
Thanks,
Absolutely.
David. I hope it was useful.
Good.
Thank you, Jerry.
Thank you, Jerry.
Look forward to seeing you again soon.
Jerry, I'll send Christina a link to a Facebook page that's all about hybrid meetings.
Oh, okay. Yeah, she's been working on it.
Yeah.
Yeah. The district provided some, information. Maybe that's what you're talking about. But
No, this was on, I think it's more international. It's not just district wide.
yeah,
I got it from the zone meeting.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see. So much depends on the numbers, how many people are in person. How do we, obviously you don't have to have multiple cameras, but can you make it better if you have multiple cameras?
Yeah,
There's that.
I think what you said about making the Zoom attendees feel as if they're not second-class citizens is really important.
Yeah.
But frankly, I completely agree with you in that hybrid meetings should be the way of the future for us. We should allow for people who have a tougher time getting away from work. More and more people want you to have your butt in the seat there. But that shouldn't prevent them from attending a Rotary meeting. So I love the idea of hybrid meetings.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting thing for us. It's going to change the business model a bit for us.
Mm-hmm.
Because we have funded we've talked about this. We fund so much of our activity off uneaten meals.
Yeah. Wow.
So if we're not charging people for meals because they're Zooming.
Yeah.
Yep.
Or do we go back to, we just say everybody gets charged for meals, whether you come in person or you Zoom?
And wow. Yep.
That's
Those are real considerations.
Real problems.
That might drive some people away, and we've already driven enough people away.
Yeah.
Well, we went to each person paying for the meal if they have a meal. That has helped some with our costs, but like I said, everybody's got to do it their own way.
Oh yeah.
Because we've always had, you pay for lunch whether you come or not.
Right.
And if you come and you don't eat, you still pay. You don't get to say, oh, I'm here, but I'm not eating.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Jerry, how did you identify, you were talking about sustainability as part of your mission statement there early on. How did you identify the opportunities for sustainability? I mean, did you have a group that was tasked with that, or do you have like a best practices list? Or
Well, yeah, there's a big sustainability group at the university. Big, but there's a sustainability office. But it started with, and again, before my time, when the university, when they were picking Rogers Builders and when they picked the architect and all that, made a decision to go for the LEED Gold certification.
Yeah.
Which a lot of that is about the construction process, how you handle debris, trying to minimize debris, and what you do when you clean up the site and all that. And then building with recycled materials and materials that can be recycled. So like our vinyl floors are made from recycled vinyl, I guess, I don't know, recycled plastic or something, and designed to be recycled. And the carpeting is the same way. And so then the LEED, it's excellence in environmental design. I forget what the L is, but I think it's leadership in environment.
Yeah.
Leadership excellence, something like that. But there's a whole series of standards in there of, using task lighting instead of overhead lighting, the HVAC system being regulated in certain ways, how you treat the glass to minimize heat coming in and heat going out other times of year. So all of that's built in. We managed to get that certification, and it's always been funny to me. You get that certification, and then you don't have to do anything to maintain it. You get it, and that's it.
It's forever.
But the chancellor, our former chancellor took the whole sustainability thing very seriously. And so, one of the things we have is that the plaza out there where that Chamois Plaza sculpture is, that's a green roof. And so there's an ongoing reminder every day that we have this sustainability mission. And honestly, it's been a complete pain in the butt. It's difficult to get grass on. The gray water system in the building where you collect the condensate to flush the toilets, it's never worked right. So we're always involved in that, but it helps to get you thinking about so that's, the campus wide, not just in our building, the way we handle office trash, for example, that's institutionalized. So office paper gets separated, and we have big bins for all the recyclable stuff and really small bins for the trash. And we do that at our desks. The trash can at your desk is the recyclable bin, and then there's this little black thing that sits on the top of it for the trash.
Oh my goodness!
Every day, maybe you don't need to throw that away. Maybe you could.
Oh man.
Yeah, and we notice because we do so many events, we have a full catering kitchen in the basement, and we serve lunch and dinner many days. There's an enormous amount of food waste.
Yeah.
That for a long time we were just thrown away, but we worked. There's a composting company essentially that gives you the bins, and then
Are you working with a composting company? Because we tried to do this with one of our Interact schools. There was one in Gastonia, I think that we were looking at.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't think there are a lot of choices.
Yeah, no, there really weren't. There were like 2 choices, I think.
Yeah, it's like Earth Farm or it's something like that.
Yeah. Oh man. Hey, thank you, my friend. I really appreciate it. You're a great guy, Jerry, and
people got something out of it.
Love it.
So
Hey, you
Jerry,
have a great day, buddy.
So Jerry, question: every day, every single day, my wife and I walk on 8th Street. Can we see you in your office? Can we wave to you, or are you on the other side of the building?
I'm actually on the 9th Street side.
Oh, okay.
I'm on the 9th floor on the 9th Street side. But of course, I've been there like 5 times in the last 12 months. So,
is that right? Well,
I worked at my desk a little bit a couple days ago for the first time in a long time. Mostly when I go, it's just to drop in and make sure the lights are still on and stuff.
then I can wave to you at your house because I know where you live, so I can wave to you again.
Yeah, and as I keep saying, just leave some tribute on the porch. It'll be fun.
I appreciate it.
You see,
pizza,
David is a stalker.
I can tolerate stalking if it comes with tribute.
Yeah, you
you
want
go.
stuff, right? What can you do for me, right?
Hey,
Well, thank you
James,
for the-
I see you there.
Thank you for the program.
Sure.
Great program today. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm glad you liked it.
Thank you.
See you guys.
Take care, buddy.
See you later.